Hello everyone, I'm Brian Tarrant, Head of Data Science Platform here at the Royal Statistical Society. And in this series of short videos, we are previewing some of the papers and sessions at the upcoming RSS conference in Aberdeen. So today I'm joined by Dr. Hollie Johnson, who's a data scientist with the National Innovation Centre for Data based in Newcastle. Hello, Hollie.
Hi, Brian.
Nice to see you. Thank you for coming along. So we are speaking, or you're speaking, I should say, in the 9 a.m. session on Tuesday, 13th of September. And that session is part of our data science theme, which it runs throughout all 4 days of the conference. And your session in particular focuses on novel applications and data sets. So can you tell us a little bit what your talk's about, please?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm from the National Innovation Centre for Data, and I'm mainly going to talk about the way in which we work on data science projects with organisations. So our kind of goal is to address a skills gap in industry through running these sort of collaborative data science projects and allowing people within organisations to gain data science skills whilst solving like real business problems. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the way we do that, some of the challenges we face, some of the ways in which we think it's worked really well, and also talk a little bit about a case study, a company we've worked with called Belivery over the last year or so.
Okay, and so Belivery is I guess it's one of these companies where you can make an order from a local business and they will send a driver out to deliver the product to you. Is that right?
Yeah, I think they describe themselves as a 30 to 60-minute grocery delivery company. But yes, very much your kind of Deliveroo, Uber Eats style of organisation. Yeah.
Okay, and so so are they a small company? Are they just starting up?
They've been going quite a while now, I think, but they're just starting to kind of expand.
Right. Okay.
And in doing so, I think have a lot of sort of more technical problems they need to solve and address in order to make that kind of scalability work for them.
So that was where they came to you to work on this particular project. So so can you tell us very briefly what the kind of problem Belivery was looking to solve and where data sort of came into that, where data science came into that?
Absolutely. So when orders come in from customers, Belivery has to somehow decide which drivers to send invitations out to. Okay, so they've got a database of however many drivers it might be. Now, okay, you could send that invite to every driver. Maybe that's the easiest way of doing things, but you can see how that will quickly become a problem because drivers are going to be receiving huge quantities of these invites. Often when they're at home and they're trying to relax, they don't care about these things. So what they did was they found this method that involved looking at the distance between the driver's home address and where the order was coming from and sent invites based on kind of on that metric. Now, it turns out that actually that still requires sending invites to an awful lot of drivers before you get an acceptance. So we wanted to look at the data we had on both drivers and the orders coming in to understand how we can kind of maximize the chance of a driver actually accepting the invite. And the idea being that this way we send out fewer invites and we harass the drivers less at times when realistically they're not likely to accept an order in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. Now that seems to me to be quite a challenging problem to solve. I mean, I guess there's many factors that will influence whether, if I was a driver, whether I want to accept it at a particular time, whether it's a time of day or other things going on in my life. So, what sort of data can you look at, and how can data be used to predict things like, whether a person's going to be wanting to go out and make a delivery?
Yeah. So I think the interesting things about this project is that we have 2 data sets, right? So we've got data on the orders that are coming in and whether the order is accepted or not, regardless. And that has information such as like the size of the order, the location, time of day, all of these sorts of things. But we also have data on individual drivers. Now, trying to kind of coordinate those things. So really what we want to predict is the chance of a specific driver accepting a specific order. So you have this kind of this combination of data sets to consider. But there's also things that from the order information we can learn about drivers, such as how frequently they accept orders, whether when their last order was accepted, whether they're likely to cancel, things like this. As you said, things like time of day. We've also got things like weather conditions and modes of transport. Things like certain drivers may not wish to deliver certain items. So I should say for Belivery, one of the interesting ways they work is that the drivers themselves go and purchase the items and deliver them to the customer. So, you might have drivers who don't want to deliver alcohol, for instance. So understanding all of these different things and the kind of the relationships between these factors and how they might impact the likelihood that a driver will accept an order. All of these things help inform our model.
Okay. Now you said this is just an example of, you know, how your organization works to close a skills gap in data science, and is that, you know, is that skills gap often around using data to make predictions in order to kind of maximize you know, business success or service, you know, standards, whatever it might be?
Yeah, I mean, so at the National Innovation Centre for Data, you know, we work on these skills projects with a huge variety of organisations, and they all have very, very different problems. A lot of the time it's a kind of a predictive problem, but what we do find is because we're helping people in the organisation gain these skills and we go through the whole process with them, often it's kind of elements along the way that actually prove to be more valuable. So things like understanding the data cleaning and the way in which data can be used and kind of joined together with, you know, potentially external data sets. And also things like problem scoping and problem understanding. So although not all of our projects are necessarily kind of predictive, there's a lot of the sort of similar kind of ideas that we try and transfer these skills to the participants. We also find sometimes organisations come and they have a business problem, and actually it's not that they say we want to predict something, but that may well end up being the solution we come to. Sometimes it's more about formalising the storage and the kind of accessibility of data within the organisation, for instance.
Of course. Okay. Now, I think it's quite interesting. Like, obviously, I'm a user of some of these types of apps, right? And I would think that you know, this sort of work is going on behind the scenes to inform the service that I get. Are there any other examples of data science being used in business and industry that, you know, people might be surprised to learn about? Perhaps a project that you've worked on at the National Innovation Centre.
I'm trying to think of things that I'm able to talk about freely. Obviously, kind of ongoing projects we can't necessarily discuss too much.
Yeah.
I mean, so
well, maybe go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we've done quite a bit of work with lots of government organisations, you know, sectors of government and the NHS, for instance. So there's elements within there where we help improve processes, and it might not be a predictive problem. So you think within a medical context, we're not always trying to predict, you know, the chance of something happening, but data science can be used in many different ways in order to improve existing processes and help them be more efficient. Things like somebody who spends 2 hours a day writing a report, right? If we can automate that process, or if we can help them learn how to automate that process, that frees up the time for them to then work on more interesting problems or the more complex problems that kind of get pushed to the back of their, you know, their daily backlog.
Yeah, of course. And maybe that gets into some of the solving the problem of productivity that we've heard so much about in the news recently. So anyway, well, I mean, I'm sure there'll be more projects and applications and things like that being discussed in this session. So I look forward to hearing more about that and to taking part in the session in Aberdeen. And I look forward to seeing you there, Hollie. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, so the RSS International Conference 2022 takes place from the 12th to the 15th of September at PNJ Live in Aberdeen. You can see rss.org.uk/conference for the full programme and details on how to register. Thanks for watching.